Hi there, welcome to Bottled Up. I am Lou.
Hi, I'm John.
And we wanted to connect with you. This is a series of videos that we call Heart to Heart. And we talked about it and we wanted it to feel as if we were just literally sitting across from you in your lounge or something. It's unscripted and we just kind of talk from our heart about the issues that we're passionate about. And our most passionate thing that we're passionate about is actually connecting with you and trying to help you in the very lonely and difficult walk that you travel. And Christmas can be one of those times where you can feel really, really lonely in the middle of everyone else appearing, and I have to say appearing, to have a good time.
This time of the year, you don't have to look very far and you find, all the Christmas decorations, all the Christmas hype. You can feel it in the shops. You switch on the TV. You get these adverts where, you get the perfect Christmas. Disney has written Christmas. It feels a bit like that. That's really
true. It
is, and people's expectations get really, really ramped up from this, and sometimes the reality doesn't actually match it. And there is a saying, it says that the difference between your expectations and your reality is the measure of your disappointment. So if you ramp your expectations right up, then reality doesn't match it, then yes, you could be very disappointed.
So you may be coming at this, maybe even from a feeling of dread, because maybe you've got quite a few Christmases behind you that have felt really difficult. So we're not going to make this very long, because we know that you're busy coming up to Christmas, but we just want to give you a kind of a survival.
We don't want to come at this as the Grinch who stole Christmas. That's not our. I'm not Mr. Scrooge here coming. The bah humbug. What we're trying to do is give you some survival tips. We have 4 survival tips here.
And they're usually pragmatic. They're kind of living with what is rather than what should be and what we hope would be. Often when you're living with a drinker, you don't come into those sort of realms. You just live with what is, And what is at Christmas is a time when everybody pretty well has permission to let themselves out a bit in terms of the alcohol that they take. So trying to get your drinker, if he's still drinking, to stop round about Christmas, I think, is another route to disappointment. I don't know about you, but...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody's drinking at Christmas. There's an awful lot of people over-imbibe, whether it's with turkey and certainly with alcohol. It's a time of excess.
So trying to put a lid on it, I think you're just going to get a very kind of righteous, well, everybody drinks at Christmas.
Yes, of course.
And I think they're going to go in the opposite direction. What I did is I kind of used the fact that everyone drank at Christmas into a kind of... this is kind of point number 2, isn't it? Point number 1.
Just before you leave number 1, can I just say, at Christmas when I was drinking, I just thought it was camouflage. Everybody in the world was drinking, therefore nobody would notice that I was drinking as well. Right. It was like camouflage. It was also permission to drink. That's nobody was giving me it, but I was certainly taking it. And that was. I think that's important to understand that. But what we're not saying is just carte blanche. Carry on, drink as much as you want. And the point that Lou's going to make here, I think, is very important.
If you haven't ever come across Bottled Up before, something that is quite interesting and very helpful, I think, in the approach that we take is you've probably already begun to recognise that John was an alcoholic. You were given 6 months to live.
I was.
When you were 33. Been sober a long time now, but he does remember what it's like to be a drunk, and therefore he brings in insights that we don't always understand. And I'm the person that lived with a drinker for a long time, so we do bring these 2 kind of insights, which people have said they find really helpful. So point number 2 is try and negotiate some terms. And so having accepted the fact that Christmas was a time when, this is not if he's been sober for a long time, you give him permission to drink, of course not. But if his drink is a problem, then I think reckoning with the fact that actually he will find so many reasons to justify his behaviour. What I did is I went to my husband and said, look, as it's Christmas, I understand that you'll be drinking and you'll want to drink, and I will not give you a hard time about that. which was a plus for him, I can assure you. But I asked for something in return, and then we negotiated, and it was drinking much less. I think, having a bit of lager during the day, and anything that actually impacted him more. And so we had a time when he didn't do much, and a time when I said pretty well after that, I'm not going to give you a hard time. So he got a wife off his back. Yeah. And I got a husband that was actually trying to be a little bit more sensitive to what was going on.
This is pragmatic. Yeah, this is not the ideal. At Christmas we think, we want presents and, send letters off to Santa Claus. And it would be lovely if it was ideal, but it's not. And what we try to do is a bit of harm reduction here.
Absolutely.
We try to manage what's going on. And, it's not the ideal, and we say it's definitely not the ideal, but it is pragmatic. So, negotiate boundaries, no spirits before 6 o'clock, don't drink around the kids, wait till after the kids have opened their presents, whatever the best boundary is, for you, whatever the problems have been in the past for you, try and negotiate those boundaries. So what it is, it's a bit of give and take.
Sure.
I'm not going to give you a hard time about, drinking, but what I expect from you is that you curtail your drinking till later on at night.
Yeah.
And as I say, we put hands up, it's not the ideal situation, but, it's about managing expectations, his and yours. And by the way, we recognise that for anybody who wants to tell us that the drinker is not always a male. We recognise that completely.
Yeah. So, number one, make sure that your expectations of Christmas are realistic. Number two, try and negotiate the best kind of deal that you can with your partner. Number three is be prepared. Now, even things like if you're having people over and the drinking is out of control by the end of the evening, then have them over for lunch. Just be very wise and think ahead and think, okay, I don't want my parents to see him drunk again or her drunk again, so this time I'll ask them for lunch, or we'll go out and meet them. And so the other things like Christmas parties when they're coming up, I think it's very sensible to say to your partner, again, not making a big deal of it particularly, but just saying, look, you always want to drink more than I do at parties, and usually at that point when you want to drink more, that's when there's tension. So the best thing to do for both of us to be happy is I'll bring the car home at that point, and let's just make sure that you get a lift with Andy, or you've got money for a taxi. So again, it's going to be a flashpoint. You don't have to stay with let me make it really clear, you do not under any circumstances have to stay with your partner in a party if he's beginning to get pissed. It's horrible. Actually, we feel guilty at that point, but I can assure you it's horrible for them. It's not so horrible for you. You get a huge amount of sympathy vote. But just be aware of that, and just you come back at a different time when the kid's back or whatever.
If you know what the flashpoints are, make a plan. Be prepared. The old Boy Scout sort of motto. Be prepared. If he or she wants to stay at the party till midnight and you want to leave at 9, leave at 9. If you know that he or she tends to drive the car when they're drunk, you drive home, take the car keys. Make sure,
Or if you get aggressive about that, just say, let's both enjoy the party, let's get a taxi there, let's get a taxi back. Again, in the evenings, if you know that that's a flashpoint when the kids are around, say to your sister or your friend, can I drop over Christmas evening? Can we come about 6 o'clock with the kids and just say, look, I'm just going to go and visit my sister with the kids, to give you a bit of time to yourself. Again, use all the diplomacy that you can, but manage the situation as much as is possible.
Be prepared. Do it before the drinking starts, and before it gets, ramps up too much.
Absolutely.
You're not going to negotiate this when he or she is drunk. No. That's not going to happen. do it beforehand. Before you go to a party, say, this is what I'm going to do. This is what's going to happen. You know?
And if you are creative, and again, you know, as the day goes on, it gets worse. Yeah. You've got kids, do a little treasure hunt in one of the bedrooms so that you draw them away from that bit of the house and have things prepared that are to do with that, even little presents that they can hunt for, so you can take the emphasis away from your drinker and put it on themselves. So think ahead, plan ahead.
Set up a kids' room.
Yeah.
And join them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, adults not welcome. Well, not drunk ones anyway. You know.
Yeah. And even if you don't have kids and you have a fairly small place, have a really nice novel, go to bed early, read your book. 2 rules that we say over and over again in Bottled Up: don't hang around when he's drunk, because the relationship of love that many of you feel for your partner gets really really undermined at that point. And don't argue with the drunk. Just get out. He won't remember it. He will a lot of them, even if they're not violent drunks, they can be pretty mean when they're drinking.
So a wee bit of forward planning. I mean, you know, this is probably not your first Christmas. You know, so you know what's happened in the past, and just, you know, make sure that you are prepared for it this time round. You know, if it's a couple of people who come over that just encourage drinking, then maybe invite them over at a different time. Maybe invite them over for breakfast, you know, rather than, you know, at night, or make sure you don't invite them over. You know, so just manage it. And
if you are in Bottled Up in the membership site, and you know, if you are having a time at Christmas, you know, just log on to the forum and just reach out to someone. Just be aware of each other on the forum this Christmas, because to be able to just go to the people that know exactly how you feel and just want someone to know, I'm really hurting at the moment because I've done my best, but Christmas is really going down the tube. And just log on and be aware of each other. Just someone, you know, the wonder of an internet, someone from Australia who's really having a hard time can be comforted by someone from, you know, the USA and the UK. Just be aware of that and just reach out to each other in the website, because just to know somebody really cares. There's a video floating around somewhere that you can access, which I did fairly recently, that is just for that moment when you're hurting and upset. And again, track that one down and find it, because it matters to us. Your pain matters to us. This is why we're here. We're certainly not doing it as a lucrative business, but we're here because we don't want you to feel alone, and we don't want you to feel that your suffering doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. It certainly does to us.
Okay, and number 4.
Yeah. Should I say it? Okay, number 4 is remember that the holiday's for you as well. Remember about you, and in some way find somewhere where you can have your celebration on your terms. Now, it may just be something very, very simple. It might be, well, I'm going to buy myself the next novel, my next Dan Brown novel or whatever, and I'm going to give myself some time in bed, long soak in the bath. I'm going to announce it beforehand. Find, you know, your friend that you love hanging out with. Say, Mum, can I come over? But just make sure that long before you get there, and this is also being prepared,
yes, it is.
Make sure you do something which is particularly nice for you. And don't, if you can, even if you're a mum, even try and do it for you, the person that you are, not just mum and the kids, because you are really vital and you need a holiday like everyone else, and we know it's hard, but whatever you can grab, take it.
It's one of the things we keep coming back to you know, in Bottled Up. Look after yourself. Look after yourself, you know. You know, I mean, we talk to a lot of people who live with alcoholics, and it's one of the things that they don't tend to do. You know, they put everybody else first. You know, they put the drinker first. You know, and you have to put yourself first for a wee while. You know? As
much as you can within the parameters of your.
So look after yourself, please. You know. Go back onto the website, look at the program, look at some of the videos that will tell you about, you know, looking after yourself, why that's so important, you know. And if you're just coming to this for the first time, you've never met us before, then, you know, and then join the website. You know, there are lots of stuff in there. There's lots of good tips. There are lots of things that would tell you about what to not do and what to do, how to look after yourself, you know, and ultimately, you know, how to look after your drunk, you know, and how to start and influence the drunk, how to start and change that behaviour. It takes time. It takes time. But maybe that's the Christmas present you could buy yourself.
Yeah.
You know, come to Bottled Up.
Yeah.
You know,
we've kept it as low as we possibly can, and just to kind of maintain the costs of what we do. And I just want to say a little bit, because I'm very aware that a lot of people come from America and they've just come out of Thanksgiving, and you may have come out of a really bad Thanksgiving. And just want to say, just if you feel angry and disappointed about your Thanksgiving being ruined, maybe yet again, use that anger as a positive fuel. Use that anger to take whatever the next step is for you.
Yeah.
Now, it may be doing something like joining Bottled Up. It may be going back and looking at some of the things that you know you need to do, that you maybe did some of the program but not all of it. It may be the really important step of coming out of secrecy. That's one of the most important steps.
Big one.
Yeah. And you know, that maybe is the step that you need to take, that you actually say angrily to yourself, if you have to, I'm not going to do this alone anymore. I'm not going to keep this toxic secret. Now again, be careful how you share that secret. We don't suggest you come from telling no one to telling everyone. That can rebound on you. But reach out, take the step of reaching out and getting support for yourself. And even if you have to make the painful step of knowing that you need to step away for good. We do support people, and some of the people who find their way to us because we work individually with people, and some of those we support because it's time to go. And if it's time to go, we want to give you as much blessing with going. One of the reasons we set up this website is a lot of people are not ready to go, and it is pretty well what they're told to do, just get out, and some people are not ready to get out, so we want to facilitate you staying in. And even if you just do what you can and get out feeling, well, I've done exactly what I can, which is great to have that feeling, but sometimes you do have to go, and we want you to have permission to go, particularly if you're under any sort of abuse, sexual or physical abuse, you've got to go. So if you need that support as well, then maybe you need to take that final step, and Thanksgiving was your final decision. But whatever it was, use a bad Thanksgiving to make a better life for yourself in one way or another.
But again, we hope you have a wonderful Christmas. Follow some of these, these 4 suggestions, and they will definitely help.
And the whole thing about Christmas, if you go back to the original meaning of Christmas, is light came right in the midst of poverty. And we do have some wonderful stories as well that come back from poverty, from Bottled Up, where in the midst of the poverty of their situation, light comes in all sorts of different shapes and forms. So don't give up hope, because there is hope for so much change. There is always hope for change. So we're not saying in any way don't have hope, but we are saying be realistic about what you hope for. And we wish you a really happy Christmas, and we hope you'll stay and be with us and join us and become part of our Bottled Up family.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.